The main components of all rocket motors are a combustion chamber and a nozzle. The combustion chamber provides space in which the propellant is burned to produce gases at high pressures. The nozzle, usually of the de Laval type, is attached to the exit end of the combustion chamber. This nozzle is of the converging-diverging type, in which exhaust gases are accelerated, so that in the smallest cross-sectional area, or throat, they attain the local speed of sound. In the diverging section, these gases are further accelerated to supersonic velocities. Close observation of this should give a better understanding of why the rocket does not get its thrust from any impact effect of those exhaust gases. First, let's state clearly that the exhaust gases do push against the air mass. What is important is that this doesn't have any effect on the rocket. Here's why. The impact of the exhaust gases sets up disturbances in the air. Disturbances in gases are sound waves, and therefore must travel at the same speed as sound. Now, if the velocity of the exhaust gases were to remain below the speed of sound, then the disturbances they create could be transmitted back along the gas column to the rocket. But when the exhaust gases reach supersonic speed, any forces traveling in the opposite direction would have to travel faster than the speed of the exhausting gases in order to have any effect on the rocket. Let's consider a solid motor first. Like all rocket motors, it has a combustion chamber and a de Laval type nozzle. All rocket motors carry both oxidizer and fuel. Both are mixed together in solid propellant grains in such a way that they will remain inert until they're ignited. Fuels most commonly used are asphalt and oil, rubber, or rosin. Oxidizers are usually potassium perchlorate, ammonium perchlorate, sodium or potassium nitrate. This motor is now fueled and ready for firing. Although an igniter is sometimes used to start combustion, the fuel and oxidizer will usually burn immediately. Burning will then continue as long as the fuel valves are left open, or until the propellants in the tanks are used up. Let's see how this works. The fuel and oxidizer enter their separate feed lines under pressure from their pumping mechanisms. One goes through the cooling system to the injector, the other directly to the injector, which sprays them into the combustion chamber. Combustion takes place, and exhaust gases, accelerated by the de Laval nozzle, repeat the same pattern of pressures you've seen before, creating thrust. The rocket motor has the simplest design of any known power plant today. With its potential ability to break free of the atmospheric envelope surrounding the Earth, there is no limit to the speeds and distances which man's mind may now dream of encompassing.
The Van Allen radiation belts, two giant swaths of radiation around Earth, were the first discovery of the space age in 1958. In August 2012, NASA launched the Van Allen probes to provide the most detailed picture of the belts ever seen. Within days of launch, the probes revealed a third never-before-seen ring of radiation that persisted for about a month. Scientists already knew the belts shrink and swell in response to incoming energy from the sun, but they don't know exactly how. The discovery of a new belt offers additional clues to map out the mysteries of the region and shows us that the first discovery of the space age can still surprise us.
There are times every day as you work or you play when a pause would be welcome to you. And it's then that you find the bright thought in your mind that only a Coke will do.
50 million times a day, at home, at work, or on the way. There's nothing like a Coca-Cola, nothing like a Coke.
To briefly review, The major portions of the Apollo spacecraft are the launch escape subsystem, the boost protective cover, the command module, the service module, and the spacecraft adapter, which carries the LEM, or Lunar Excursion Module. During the current reporting period, development and manufacturing efforts were evident in all areas of Apollo spacecraft activity. In subsystems development, for example, work continued toward early manned flight qualification. Such efforts were seen in environmental control subsystem development. North American Aviation, Downey, California, conducted the first manned ECS breadboard tests in a command module test cell. The tests included ground-level subsystem checkouts and hooking the space-suited test subjects into the simulated spacecraft suit ventilating circuits. ECS equipment is produced by the Air Research Division of the Garrett Corporation, Los Angeles. Another major spacecraft subsystem is that for guidance and navigation. The prime subsystem contractor, AC Electronics, Milwaukee, delivered all Block 1 G&N subsystems to North American and began Block 1 qualification testing. Block 1 spacecraft will be used for Earth orbital flights. Block 2 spacecraft will be used for lunar missions. Interrelated with spacecraft guidance is the stabilization and control function. Block 1 stabilization and control subsystem tests were conducted by the subcontractor Honeywell Corporation, Minneapolis, Minnesota. The stabilization and control equipment includes the translational hand controller, the flight director attitude indicator, and the rate gyro assembly. As of March 1966, Honeywell had completed Block 1 qualification testing and had delivered the majority of Block 1 subsystems. Another function vital to guidance and control is the spacecraft's reaction control subsystem. North American completed RCS breadboard duty cycle tests in support of the first and second unmanned Apollo missions. Tests are continuing to qualify the Rocketdyne-developed RCS equipment for manned Apollo flight. Subsystem duty cycling tests, with the engines mounted in an operational quad configuration, were completed at Downey in support of the 009 and 011 spacecraft missions. The service module RCS engines are similar to those used in the command module. Both are fueled with hypergolic propellants and are controllable from a maximum one-time burn of 500 seconds to a large number of pulse firings as short as 20 milliseconds. The second and largest propulsion system carried by the spacecraft is the service propulsion subsystem. With the attached nozzle extension, the service propulsion engine measures over 12 feet tall. Aerojet General, Sacramento, California, is the manufacturer. The first flight model SPS engine was installed in the 009 service module in October 1965. The engine uses pressure-fed hypergolic propellants and is capable of multiple restarts. Altitude testing of the service propulsion engine is being conducted at the Air Force's Arnold Engineering Development Center, Tullahoma, Tennessee. On 2 occasions, the thrust chamber failed during developmental firings. The problems were corrected, and the engine successfully completed Block 1 qualification tests in April 1966. Service propulsion subsystem plumbing tests were concurrently run at NASA's White Sands Test Facility, New Mexico. Test programs were completed in support of the 009 and 011 spacecraft missions. A nozzle inertia simulator is used for the firing tests. Apollo goals came closer to operational status with the arrival of the first production Apollo spacecraft at the Kennedy Space Center in October 1965. Following an extensive program of inspections, cleaning, build-up, and testing, the mated command and service modules provided the first view of flight-configured Apollo spacecraft modules. On December 26th, the command and service modules and the attached adapter section were mated to the Saturn 1B Launch Vehicle 201 at Launch Complex 34. Saturn Launch Vehicle development is under the direction of the Marshall Space Flight Center, Huntsville, Alabama. The mission would also help confirm the all-up concept of flight testing, in which all launch vehicle and spacecraft components will be flown together live for the first time. On launch morning, February 26th, low gaseous control pressures in the launch vehicle forced several recyclings of the countdown and an eventual scrub. However, 10 minutes later, the problem was corrected and the scrub decision was reversed. At 11:12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, February 26th, Apollo Saturn Mission 201 was on its way. This was the separation action recorded by an onboard camera.